I'm author J.P. Moss. Some years back, I had the privilege of meeting, only through Skype, TV producer and journalist, the late Jim O'Connell. Jim had spoke to me about an idea of a TV program called Experiencers. It would involve people who are alien contactees, or what's known as experiencers, going out in a reality-based TV show, paranormal research show, and attempting to collect evidence of alien contact. Jim said the problem he ran into was trying to sell this idea to TV producers to get the money. Jim he said that they told him ghost television TV shows, reality shows, can guarantee weekly results. Jim was unable to guarantee weekly results to the producers, therefore he never really got the funding. We lost contact before he died. He's been dead 3 years. My proposal is based on my research, what I've discovered. If we take the approach to alien contact as Hollywood, there's two types of alien contact. There's Hollywood alien contact and reality alien contact. Hollywood alien contact involves E.T., the extraterrestrial, Close Encounters, the Third Kind, aliens from Xenomorph, and things like this. All of these things have something in common. They involve aliens that are physical and you can touch, and they're there. Although I don't discount that such aliens exist and they are all physical, the approach to contacting them has to be changed. In order for a reality-based television show to take off the ground, you must first realize that one, alien beings exist in another dimension, and two, you can obtain the evidence of their existence through the same equipment you use for ghost research and ghost hunting. All of the equipment applies. And three, you must incorporate into such a program people who have already established contact with aliens and extraterrestrials, with the experiences that they are putting out to the world. 4, you have to use discretion at all times in determining which individuals are telling the truth, or at least more truthful about their experiences, as opposed to those who are just attention-seeking, mentally ill. My proposal, therefore, is a reality-based television show in the memory of Jim O'Connell that is focused on what I've just outlined. I believe very firmly from my research that it would be very possible for an experiencer-based television team with the sole purpose of contacting non-human intelligences, going out with the equipment they use for ghost hunter research, would be able to satisfy the requirements and the needs of television producers, i.e. they would be able to produce evidence enough to put on a weekly television show for the audience to consume and watch. Enough for ratings, enough for people to see. I therefore make this proposal here today, here in October 2018, and I'm proposing that such a television show on the basis of interdimensional communication and contact. I understand that we're dealing with civilizations and intelligences far in advance of the human race's understanding of today's physics and science, chemistry, biology, and it goes into the realm that many of you would call magic and metaphysics, pseudoscience, simply because your science today cannot go out there and duplicate what they can do. But it is possible to duplicate many times the results of contact with these interdimensional beings with use of the technology that we have available to us now. The afterlife, as people call it, is not populated solely by human beings. It is another space, another dimension. The technology that is beyond the physics of the human civilization right now at the moment that I'm speaking about is in fact a technology that can transphase solid matter, like tuning the frequency on a radio, can tune the frequency of solid matter, you, me, this room, this cup. All matter has a frequency of its own. If you were to tune the frequency of the solid matter of this cup out of the frequency that it is now, it would lose its reference in the space-time continuum. Because it would lose its point of reference in this space-time continuum, the cup would simply disappear in front of us because it's no longer within our reference in our space-time continuum. Where would it go? Into the past, into the future, into another dimension. More than likely, you can tune into the frequency of these beings with the technology we have. This is done through the Experiencer program. An experiencer is an individual that has claimed alien abduction phenomena in their lives. It is believed that biologically, electrically, or within the soul of that person, with their brain waves, the frequency of their mind, has already had some kind of influence from these non-human intelligences. They already have a frequency within them. Their presence alone is seen in a higher dimension by these beings. We are speaking about a technology in which an alien civilization has learned how to build electronic devices, something hardware, something manufactured, that can literally alter the frequency of solid matter and transphase you into a higher state of existence, into a higher dimension. This technology, as I said, is not just centuries ahead of the human race, but tens of thousands of years in advance. Perhaps even 500,000 years to 1,000,000 years ahead of you. This is something that would take more than 1,000 years if the human race doesn't destroy itself in nuclear warfare, as it's always confronted with these kinds of threats and issues all the time. It has gone to great lengths to build excessively destructive weaponry, to cause as much destruction and death and killing upon its neighbors and tribal warfare on this planet, as primitive as that is, and endeavors to continue and promote another person's country's ideologies and beliefs. Nations and countries on this planet, as well as religions, are all human fictions, something that the human race believes in. Being Russian, being American, or whatever faith you have, is a popular fiction. It is simply a matter of belief. You believe that it exists, but it doesn't really exist. It is only in your mind. These are fictions. Then people go out and write books of rules and laws, and then they go to dictate the moral code to defend those fictions. Morals are often fictions themselves, simply invented to find excuse to continue and propagate a person's belief system, no matter what that is, or to protect that person's tribe from the other person's tribe. The weaponry and the warfare of the human race has become excessively destructive, very dangerous. And so have many of the fictions that they believe in about themselves and each other. In history, in the human race's history, there have been whole civilizations that have risen up with fictions that they have created for themselves of their history and their sense of identity that has become very destructive for their neighbors and even themselves. Their behavior, their actions then caused the death of millions and millions of innocent people based on these ideologies and these fictions. These kinds of beliefs about a person's sense of identity and country and who they are and where they are and what that flag means waving in the breeze can bestow upon them some deep-seated prejudices about people's color, skin, tones of languages, general appearance. Human race is inundated in a fantasy fiction of many nations that seem to have some merit and meaning to them. They seem to believe that those ideologies, those virtues of each country have some purpose, some value. But it is seen by those who watch you from other places. Not being disrespectful, but it is primitive. It is seen as a primitive culture. These are primitive and adolescent ideologies. Without advancing the self, without advancing a unified culture of humanity, which will help propagate the species as a whole, if there isn't a working global endeavor among the human race, a global endeavor to work together to unify mind and conscience and elevate and learn and have a unified sense of growth with yourselves, there isn't much chance the human race will survive the next 1,000 years. Extinction is almost certainly inevitable at this point. And again, this is just some of the stuff that, as an experiencer, I thought I'd share with you, having gone face to face in the forest with the mantids and having the contact with a being that identified herself to me as Beniko. And so these philosophies, these ideas could also become a part of the Experiencers program, which would help elevate awareness and teach and instruct humankind and anybody that tunes into the show. It's one thing that a ghost research show takes off and says, there's an afterlife. Listen to these people talk. There is an elevating in consciousness with every show created there. This is very good. It helps to educate the public and how to help those who've crossed over, those who've passed on, those who are trapped, what these things mean. What it means for them to be where they are, in buildings they cannot seem to escape from. Across the planet, there are many battle sites of the wars in history in which many nations have fought, buried their dead, and the wars are long over. But sadly, many human souls still haunt these locations. Places in Europe, Southeast Asia, without naming any countries. There have been reports of screams and shouts and sightings of American soldiers and platoons running through jungles, I'll say that, through Vietnam in fact. There have been reports of this. But in fact, they are not there. They are not physically there. These were ghost platoons of people that died in the conflict, as well as many on the other side who died in the conflict. There's a lesson to be learned in this. Understand that both equally are in the same place. Both equally need love and need to be crossed over. Understand that war is not the answer to anything. Division, arrogance, egocentric thinking, and a lot of belief in fiction, and a sense of identity, of this fictional idea of a sense of identity a nation has that goes off to war with a lesser developed country, was very destructive and very costly for both sides. War itself is not the answer. It's what happens when diplomacy and dialogue break down, and all that's left are the weapons and someone to pull the trigger. Every time there's a conflict and a war, it is proof that the human race has a lot of problems. And again, there are doubts that the human race as a species will survive the next 1,000 years. So the civilization that watches you from the forests, the mantids, I have photographs of them, infrared photos, and videos, by the way. There are videos. There are videos of my seeing them and having made the video and have them see one of them and actually stand in front of one of them. These are said to be the oldest of the old races in the galaxy, in the known galaxies. The information I received from them, I could go all day about it. I don't want to become a guru. I don't want to keep spewing philosophies like this. But it would be an interesting part of a television show that Jim had in mind that would open the door to explore those personal experiences is what it's called. Ghost research television shows call it personal experiences when it wasn't documented to show the public. Person shares what they felt personally from the entities, the ghosts, the poltergeists they encountered. And I've only just shared a snapshot of what I felt dealing with these aliens in the forest. I also felt that they had explored a vast quadrant of this part of the universe. This encompasses hundreds, perhaps thousands of galaxies within this cluster. Not just this galaxy, but several thousand galaxies within this cluster. They have explored every one of them. They have lived for a very long time, for billions of years. Artifacts will be found through astronomers. The Kepler Space Telescope and others will discover vast objects orbiting stars, remnants and relics of their civilizations attempted obtaining high power. They found that by moving into higher dimensions they could have unlimited power. All their resources of power was there in the 6th, 7th, 8th dimensions. They moved up. All the power that could be taken from here within these galaxies simply could not be feasible anymore. Scientists only speak of several types of civilizations. They talk about type 1, type 2, type 3, then there's the Kardashian scale. I've heard 4, but let me bring you to type 5. The civilizations that move into higher dimensions that have found higher forms of plasma and energy that exist in abundance beyond what this universe can provide for them. But they have an obligation to this universe and to the many planets here they seeded with their consciousness. Many civilizations, like the human race, are their children. In many ways made in their image, which is the image of love, exploration, understanding, and growth. That's a mouthful for 18 minutes so far. But more than that, wouldn't it be more interesting in a television show to have others like myself present the infrared and the photographic evidence and the videos and the EVP recordings and all the said and above of these entities? Some civilizations have contracts of no contact. Mantids don't respect such contracts as such. They help enforce many of them, but meet them directly, and there is no issue with them having this information shared, or even the fact they're here. They don't have an issue with that. Civilizations have been brought down using military radar, electromagnetic radar. These are lesser advanced civilizations with vehicles that can be taken, occupants removed, killed, shot, taken hostage, or interrogated. These vehicles are then put underground in bases, and scientists attempt to understand their function. But again, the mantids are dealing with technologies that cannot be brought down by those means. They're simply not threatened by anything here on this planet. So, specific contract of no contact with their civilization doesn't exist, because they don't have to worry about it. Anyways, this was a mouthful of a video. This is my proposal. Television show for experiencers, if it isn't already out there in some form, but if it is, to explore the interdimensional levels of contact using the same technology you would use for ghost research. Using, of course, the chemistry, the element in this batch we mix up with, we have the experiencers have to be a component in this, and the equipment used in ghost research. And that's my video. That's my proposal.